Hello, internet friends. My name is Bay, and welcome to the Battle for Azeroth beta and the second pass for the Balance Druid. So, I'm going to go over talent adjustments, spells and abilities lost or gained, or reworked in this case. Anything you kept from your Legion artifact and legendaries, your legendaries, new graphics, a brief overview of the war mode talents, and any GCD changes. There will be no true gameplay in this video, even though I'm going to go through some rotational bits. So consider this more of a one-man podcast walkthrough primer of how your spec is going from Legion into the battle for Azeroth. And if you want the entire second pass testing, over 4 hours, we had a lot to talk about with Balance Druid. The link for the VOD on Twitch in the description box down below, or on my channel guide, where I put together the entire list of all the testing I have done, VODs and videos. And finally, any questions, concerns, feedback, all that good stuff, leave that down in the description, under the description box down below in the comment section. Not your first time on YouTube, of course, but if it is, and you enjoy my ramblings on this spec or many others, consider hitting the subscribe button or even the bell icon next to subscribe. That is the real subscribe button now, because YouTube things. And I appreciate your viewership nevertheless. But, where to even begin? Well, I have a list of things to go through. However, this was a lot of discussion, because not to sound ungrateful, but to soapbox a little bit at the beginning of this video, there was a lot of in chat from only a handful of people that sort of brought up some interesting side points for the Balance Druid that were less than savory, I would say, because all these changes you just got, which I will go over as much detail as I can about Balance Druid in this video, all these changes you just got, and maybe I'm just salty because Enhancement Shaman is basically DOA right now. They want more. You're never satisfied, or some players in the community are just never satisfied with the changes they have been given, or that these changes aren't good enough, or they're not further enough, or they're just, it got really kind of grumpy in the middle there. It was like an hour of this. I'm trying to understand what's happening here and the mentality behind this choice in these changes, and then I get this. So overall, ton of changes, and I'm going to go over all the core stuff right now. So there's been a battle res change across the board for druids. It's back to having a cast time of 2 seconds, reduced by haste. However, it is full health and 20% mana. The cast time is longer on Soulstone, but obviously you can preempt it before combat, but it's only 60-20. And the Death Knight res, the Raised Dead, is still 60-20, instant, but costs runic power. So all three of them are a little bit different, but they're obviously still there. Bear form for non-bears is only 25% stamina, same armor, and Frenzied Regen is now 25% HP over 5 seconds, 5% per second for 5. So these have both been heavily cut down if you're not actually a Guardian Druid, to reduce the survivability of non-bears taking form of bear. Obviously it's still going to help you, but bear form less health, and Frenzied Regen heals based on health now. And even on top of that, Moonkin form had its armor bonus reduced from 200% to 125. So that's a little bit of a tweak there as well from the physical side of things. Soothe is back. Soothe is instant cast, 10-second cooldown now. It had no cooldown before. Now it has a 10-second cooldown where you soothe the target, dispelling all enrage effects. Bears do not have this, but cats and trees and thunder turkeys do. This is interesting. Trank Shot was in for hunters, however was recently removed, but they do have exotic pets that have this for BM. So there are essentially 4 specs in the game that can do this. If Beastmaster Hunter Dispel on those exotic pets is the same, otherwise it's just 3 druid specs. So it does remove enrage effects on Fury Warriors, but does not remove Big Red Pet on BM Hunters. It may still remove other enrage effects that are for the PvP standpoint. Otherwise, obviously, it's a PvE bit. Hibernate is also back. Hibernate is your sleep on beasts and dragonkin, only one at a time. Short cast time, a little bit of mana, 40-yard range. You can stay in your form to cast it. If you're a kitty cat or a bear, it shifts you out. But obviously, if you're a caster druid, you stay in. Oh, goodness. And now we start with the actual balance stuff. This is like a page. So, your mastery has not changed. However, it has been split up and fixed. I'm going to backtrack real quick here to Moonkin Form. The Moonkin Form tooltip on live says your druid spells. Now it just lists your spells by 10%. And your mastery now lists all the individual empowerments, no longer saying that it does your arcane or nature damage. So any mastery in the game now that affects spell damage specifically no longer has the potential to affect any exterior forces. So no trinkets, outside Azeroth procs, whatever. It's all going to be whitelisted on the actual spells on your class. Period. Hopefully. So that's changed because on live, again, going back to Moonkin Forum, this says arcane and nature damage. So if you have anything else that is arcane or nature damage, you could scale it. But now, not anymore. So, Star Surge, Stellar Flare, Fury of Elune, and Starfall all go up by your mastery. It then increases the same amount for your Lunar Empowerment and Stellar Empowerment. Stellar Empowerment is Starfall. And increases the damage of your Solar Empowerment by half of that. And more on that why as we go through these here. So, Stellar Flare, the empowerment from the Stellar Empowerments it's only going to be on Moonfire and Sunfire now. Stellar Flare scales with your mastery, no longer needs to be in the buff window of your Starfalls. That is a pretty big change if you want to do the cross dot spec and actually take Stellar Flare. And you have a new Twin Moons talent. You have, of course, just Sunfire and Moonfire. I don't know why I said it fire, but, you know, hey, that happens, especially when I'm recording at, don't look at the clock right now. That is a big deal. You also have your empowerment as a passive now. So it tells you what Star Surge gives your solar and lunar empowerments. Lunar empowerment is a flat, huge damage spike on your lunar strike and reduces its cast time by 15%. It's the same for both solar and lunar. They rolled in Star-Lord baseline at 15%, down from 20. More on that as we go through, of course. So, and for solar empowerment, it makes your solar wrath explode for an additional 30% of its actual base damage to the actual main target and all nearby enemies within 8 yards. Nearby, again, WoW terminology, if you're new to this, nearby, unless stated, is 8 yards. So, those aside, you also have a new Eclipse passive. Eclipse is the sort of divine purpose proc that I had asked for in a different way, but a lot of these changes we called out in the first pass. I'm not going to take any credit for that. It was obviously funneled through chat, but still. So now, casting Lunar Strikes has a 20% chance to grant you Solar Empowerment, or casting Solar Wrath has a chance to grant you a Lunar Empowerment stack. So a lot of what the Balance Druid is going to do is going to feel very bouncy now in comparison to how you are on live. You're still going to have your opening kind of builder with Wrath and whatnot. I'm not using any of their talents right now. But you're going to be able to bounce around as you start getting flowing here because you have other spells proccing the other school. Whereas you do not have that on live. So utilizing your actual stacks is going to be a lot more of a bouncing and balancing act than it is currently. We'll throw in a Stellar Flare there too, for why not? Yeah! So you no longer just spam Wrath. At the core base rotation, you definitely weave Wraths in there. But once you get your empowerments going, you have to use Lunar Strikes, and Lunar Strikes might give you more empowered Wraths. And again, the Wraths, see there? That extra explosion right off the side there. Oh, I don't put my weapon back on. Doesn't matter what the actual numbers look like, but I forgot to put the scythe back on. These make you... This is kind of like Warlords a little bit. Warlords Balance Druid, if I'm not mistaken, basically the class played itself. It told you what spells to cast. And this kind of bring that back a little bit. It's not the same at all. But it is a little bit of that playstyle if you enjoyed it. And again, there's no empowerment for Stellar Flare. Stellar Flare just scales with your mastery now. But as you see, the base rotation bounces back and forth way more often just because you have to. You have to utilize your empowerments properly now and not waste them. And I had 2 stacks there because the Wrath procced again. And you're right back to empowering again. Obviously, there's going to be some building, pooling, and that kind of stuff. But this is way different than how it was in the first pass. If you go back and watch the first pass, I basically said that the AoE rotation for balance, but the single target rotation for balance. So that is the core right there. Little things of note. Let me go to my notes again. So yeah, Mobile Star Delver talent rolled into baseline. New Eclipse passive. So Lunar Strike had its base cast time reduced from 2.5 seconds to 2.25 seconds. And that's 2 seconds right now because of my haste on my gear. So that's 0.25 down from live. And then once you have some haste, it's 2 seconds. So a little bit of a quality of life improvement on Lunar Strike. Also, its cleave radius is 8 yards. And you'll be happy to know that Sunfire's cleave radius is also 8 yards. That was a big problem earlier. It was 5 yards, and people were just like, ugh. And to show you what 8 yards looks like, I'm going to right-click on this target dummy, and I have the extra 5 yards from Balance Druid. So this is 10 yards away. So move me in here-ish and draw a circle around. That's going to be your 8 yards of where your Sunfire lands or your Lunar Strike hits. You did notice the Lunar Strike animation has changed. There's no extra little Lunar Strikes anymore. Just that poof Lunar Strike. That's your AoE hit. And then again, the Solar Wrath hit is just the same. Just kind of radiates off of it. But again, that empowerment from Solar Wrath hits the pure single target and then also everything around it. So not only does it get the damage bonus, which is why it's half on your mastery, because it gains the 30% or more from talents on that extra bonus single target and the AoE hit. So Wrath AoE is a little bit, and obviously Lunar Strike AoE is at 8 yards. Sunfire applies within 8 yards. Pretty good quality of life changes there. Same amount of Astral Power, 8 for Wrath, 12 for Strike, 3 for Dots. Right, Solar Flare still costs 10. Starfall costs 50 baseline. And then use your Moonfire here is also, is also only 3. So that is the same as it is on live. There was some back and forth about how Balance Druid's going to be gaining less Astral Power for some reason, which I don't understand because you're actually casting more empowered spells more often because they proc each other outside of just casting Star Surges. So you'll have to get a feel for that, of course, when you get has to play it yourself. But that is a pretty big overall change. So going over back to my notes here. There is some weirdness with Astral Power decay. I didn't get a clear note on this because we were trying, but Astral Power decay takes 20 seconds. More on what's happening in front of you in a moment. It takes 20 seconds to go away or start going away after combat. And it takes roughly 24 seconds to decay from 100 Astral Power to 0. So I was getting told that it was 15 seconds to decay on live, but I was also getting mixed results that it was 15 or 18 or somewhere in there. But it takes quite a while for your Astral Power to actually decay. We're still sitting on the 62 right there. There it goes. And then again, it decays at like 2.5 to 3% a second. So, talent-wise, let's go over all of this more on PvP talents in a moment. So what you saw there, we'll start from the bottom up because it's a big one. If I don't mention something else, it's in the first pass, or it's the same as it is that you're used to right now. And there's still a couple more things that I'll go over, but everything else is still what you expect it to be. If you see the talent here or not, we'll go over all the talents and things right now. Fury of Elune is a builder now. How much it should build or does build is obviously up in the air. How much damage it does do or doesn't do is obviously going to be up in the air as well. But I'm going to write out here real quick and pick on this owl again. Your builders now, or at least your other builders, The Balance Druid now has builders on your 15s and your 100 tiers. Shooting stars, 10% chance whenever your dots tick on a target. Just your Moonfire and Sunfire, you get the extra Astral damage, and then you get the extra 2 Astral power. But your Fury of Elune is a builder now. It does track and follow the target. It's kind of slow, and it is an 8-yard AoE. So again, it will not be able to catch up with this owl the entire time, but it'll almost catch up with it. So if it's too fast, like it fades away a little bit. But overall, it will chase the target down and build currently 40 Astral power over the duration. And on the other side of this, of course, you do have New Moon. New Moon, as it currently stands, is quite good on pure single target. I think up to 3 or 4 targets, then you switch to Fury of Elune or Shooting Stars, possibly. But New Moon is the same as it is on live from the 10, 20, 40 Astral power, and then the damage goes 1 step, 2 step, and then doubles from there, right? That's like 1,300 damage, and then I'll show you them off when this comes back off cooldown. The only big thing about New Moon is that it has 30-second recharge per moon. So it's a 90-second full recharge on all 3 steps of New Moon, Half Moon, and Full Moon. That does equate to 70 Astral power every 90 seconds versus Fury of Elune's 1.3 minute cooldown, which is 75 seconds, giving you 40 every 75. So either New Moon is too much, or most likely Fury of Elune is too little to balance these out. Because obviously shooting stars scales exponentially with more targets, having more chances to proc the extra Astral power just flooding in. So that's a little bit different there. But to go back over the New Moon stuff, everything is the same cast times you're used to. So it still has the really fast one, then the somewhat slower one, and then of course you drop the whole heckin' moon on them like it's like your Piccolo in Dragon Ball. So, well, he destroyed the moon, but you know what I mean. So, and then it takes, of course, once you cast the first one, it starts to put the first stack on cooldown, but it'll take 90 seconds to fully go around instead of 45 seconds on live. There's a lore reason and a gameplay reason for that. I don't want to argue that in this video. That's all in the VOD if you want to go check that out. But overall, very, very easy for single target. And the way the spec plays now, with the bouncing back and forth, the sort of divine purpose-esque procs from Eclipse, the way empowerments cycle, and how fast that can actually speed the rotation up, because again, Star-Lord is baseline. Having New Moon as that every minute to 90 seconds, that extra chunk, definitely pushes the spec a little forward, which is all it really needs, because the baseline rotation now is not brain-numbingly boring anymore like it was a few months ago. So that's way, way, way good overall. So, Astral Communion and Blessing of the Ancients are both gone. You have New Moon down here, Fury of Elune as your builder. You also have Twin Moons, which I should have showed you when I was out there, but it doesn't matter. Twin Moons is the legendary shoulders. I believe it's what they're called, Lady and the Child legendary shoulders, where your Moonfire does increased damage and hits 1 additional nearby target within 20 yards. That is this talent right here. The big ranty argument that came up on stream today was a lot about how Twin Moons feels like it should just be baseline, but people are so used to it. Boys and girls, children of all ages, talents that feel good when you actually spec them for the content you're doing is what talents are supposed to be. If you need Twin Moons to AoE more targets and cross dot everything under the sun, that is the whole point of taking Twin Moons. If you don't need it, then you can take Incarnation for the beefed up CA cooldown, or you take Soul of the Forest. Soul of the Forest, of course, has the dual in tandem where it gives you more damage in the lunar and solar empowerments, which again, remember, your Solar Wrath cleaves now. Or you get the 10 cost reduction on Astral power for Starfall, so you can layer out 3 different Starfalls. So you have different options in your talents here, but there was a big back and forth that this should just be baseline. If you have vanilla ice cream every single day for many, many, many moons, you're eventually gonna get tired of vanilla ice cream. But if you only have it sometimes when you want it, then it tastes real good. That's the whole point of Twin Moons. If this is so needed all the time, and you're always AoEing stuff, that's great. But don't worry about it being needed to be baselined. It's already here. At least you have some of your legendary effects and your artifact things rolling forward. Other specs lost everything. So just enjoy the fact that it exists. But anyway, the whole madness about multiple Starfalls down is very, very much a thing. And that may or may not be a good thing, but that's obviously way more burst AoE, whereas Twin Moons isn't. Twin Moons is not burst AoE at all. It's just more cross-dotting. I'm actually gonna comment real quick. I want to take Stellar Drift real quick to do this so I can run around like a weird old chicken. Let me do this. I'll grab Warrior Balloon here as well so I can show that off. Stellar Drift is the same as it is on live, more radius and the more damage of Starfall, and you can move around and cast during it. And again, Stellar Flare is just the big old honkin' dot that doesn't need to have the Stellar Empowerment window. Warrior Balloon, as I want to talk about this real quick, is a builder. I said your whole 15 tier is a builder now, and so is your 100. So, next 3 Lunar Strikes, instant cast, and generate 40 additional Astral power. I want to get 3 stacks of Eclipse right here. Oh, they gotta fall off. Damn. That's fine. I'll just do this. And one of these. That. We'll put this over here. Ah, Orbital Beam Cannon. And another one. Well, there we go. Almost had 4 going there. There's a third again. Yeah. So all the Starfalls. All the Starfalls. Now, layering multiple Starfalls, having everything cross-dotted is more burst AoE oriented versus Twin Moons, so that is still very much go for it, right? I didn't actually run around like a dingus when I was in the Starfalls there. What's wrong with me? Hold on. Here we go. There we go. You gotta only cast Lunar Strike when you do this because your hands are in the air. Eastman, put your hands in the air. There we go. Cast that again. So you get all of that, and again, here is your Solar Wrath. AoE, blah. I don't know yet. We had a back and forth discussion about if you're going to be casting Solar Wraths while you're AoEing primarily when you're not cross-dotting. But I don't know if you would just cast Lunar Strikes all the time because they can give you cleave Solar Wrath. I don't know. That's mathy. That's beyond what I'm going to go over right in this video. So, Celestial Alignment real quick and Incarnation. Your baseline cooldown before I go into the single target stuff here. They buffed CA slightly to be 20-second duration. They removed the Astral power gain because as you see right now, you get plenty of Astral power in the rotation. And it gave you a 15% haste modifier. That's going to scale your dots. And of course, scale your cast speeds. And remember, Star-Lord is still baseline. So getting that baseline bumped this up to the 20-second duration, 15% haste, 20% damage. So Incarnation right now might be too weak because it's only 5% more damage, 20 to 25, same haste, and 10 seconds longer on the duration. So my thought was that maybe CA goes back to 15-15 and you get the 25-15 here, or maybe Chosen Balloon bumps up your haste and your damage a little bit by 5%. That's a numbers thing again. Don't care about numbers right now. This is all about how stuff feels. Numbers are going to happen all the way up to tier 3, whatever other content patch for World of Warcraft balances and changes things anyway. So, pure single target stuff right now. We'll keep Soul of the Forest. These are multiplicative benefits on your empowerments. So you go over to your empowerments now, and they're multiplied by the 1.30. So this is going to give your Wrath even more single target and cleave damage, and of course more on your Lunar Strike. So let's grab the new Star-Lord and the new Nature's Balance, or what's called Blessing of Anshe. Star-Lord is that Star Surge and Starfall grant you 3% passive haste for 15 seconds, up to 3 stacks. Granting or gaining an additional stack does not give you more time. So this is your tier 20 4-piece bonus. A little bit weaker, because again, anything that goes to talents is obviously a little weaker than it was in actual game. So this is a little bit weaker. And then Nature's Balance is Blessing of Anshe. When you're in combat, you'll generate 2 astral power every 3 seconds. The out of combat thing you're seeing right now, and why I wanted to talent this right now before I go back over other things in the build, is that this is awful. So out of combat, instead of losing your astral power, it will regen you back up to 50. It takes a minute to do this, which is useless. It's totally useless. It gives you 50 to start a pull with, but between trash packs and dungeons or raids, like, it takes so long to give you any. It's just not. It needs to build up to 50, the same rate that your astral power without the talent decays. But that's just personal thoughts on this talent. Otherwise, it's kind of neat. And the other option here is Force of Nature, also a builder now. During the course of your 10 seconds, your treants are out punching things and still taunting, generates 15 astral power over 10 seconds. So pick your choice right here. They're all builders in a way, but for pure single target here, just to see what this looks like, and we'll go with New Moon. Let's grab that right there. So it's going to be very much like what you're used to on live, because that's not gonna change or anything like that. Let's do one of those, and we'll drop the moon on them, and we'll go to 3. The one thing about this is you have to weave your spells back and forth, I think, because if you don't, you waste potential procs from your ECLIPSE now. We'll go back up to full astral power here. We'll re-dot. Actually, we'll cast 2 of these first to get the haste on those dots. And then when we rebuild on this, we'll go one of that. And we'll go up to Star-Lord falls off and then goes right back on. Easily, once you build and spend right here, you'll be able to restack your Star-Lord almost right after you're done. I'm not refreshing my dots properly here because I'm terrible. But you go back up to 2 stacks right there. You got 2 stacks of Star-Lord. You get a few more casts in here. Let's do both. One more, and you're at 3 stacks again. So the extra haste, so this rotation keeps going faster and faster. That stacks, of course, with your passive Star-Lord that's in the actual empowerments now. So we'll reset this. That, we'll throw out 2 of these. We'll have 3 stacks of Lunar, and we'll throw off Half Moon, and then do Lunar into Solar, into Lunar, into Solar, into Lunar, right? Like, you're weaving your spells a whole lot more often than you were on live. And again, we'll do 2 stacks of Star-Lord again. Getting 2 stacks super easy. The 3rd stack kind of takes some doing. Like, right when you get to it, you have to, like, slam it down right there. We have a full moon. Oh, wow. Oh, it feels so good. I haven't played Balance Druid. It feels good. So that's what it looks like. Obviously, just standing, you're hitting the buttons, but you sort of see the pacing of what you're keeping up with your dots. You're rotating your new moons, and your moons come plenty often enough when you're juggling Star-Lord. This is with the extra, passive. You could always take Warrior of a Loon and just go bam, bam, bam when you have 3 stacks of Lunar Empowerment. That can work there as well. But overall, that is the core of what you're kind of working with here. You could have a very single target build, very cleavy oriented, multi-dot build with Stellar Flare, very AoE build, Stellar Drift, Shooting Stars, Twin Moons, Warrior of a Loon, even Nature's Balance maybe for the extra passive. That's all in the Balance Druid's kit now. And how that gets put together, please tell me in the comments down below what you think of all of those combinations. A few other things I wanted to go over real quick. I wanted to show that your talents have changed a little bit on live. This is the graph right there. Yeah. So a few things have been shifted around just to kind of compare and contrast your live versus your BFA. So, because you only really lost 2 talents. Star-Lord's still there, just got reworked. You lost the 2. Your Tiger Dash replaces your Displacer Beast. So a little bit on Tiger Dash real quick. The blue to blue markers up there are 25 yards of wild charge. Obviously, you can charge for a little longer than that because you are a Balance Druid. If you go into bear form, you get 30 yards to charge, right? Or the cat form leap is 30 yards. Could it be 5 to 30? So that's still there. The red marker to the orange marker, however, is Tiger Dash, which is a super form of Dash. So Dash by itself got a slight update. It's 60% speed for 10 seconds, which is down from 70 at 15, but only a 2-minute cooldown now, down from 3 minutes. Tiger Dash is a 4-second dash, 200% movement speed, 45-second cooldown. If you're in cat form, it is not a GCD. If you are not in cat form, it is, of course, a GCD because you change forms. But it's pretty quick at getting you where you need to go in 4 seconds. Because, again, they removed Displacer Beast and sort of wanted only blinks on certain specs like mages and warriors. and warlocks and monks and demon hunters. Yeah, only them. And probably others that I'm not even mentioning. But yeah, Displacer Beast is gone. Unfortunately, that is that. So, other things in that regard. Double checking my notes here. The global cooldown. Innervate is on the global cooldown. Astral Communion was, but it's been removed. Incarnation and your CA are both your Celestial Alignment. Those are, of course, on the GCD still, because they are a major cooldown. That is still very much a thing. And outside of that, I wanted to briefly go over the War Mode talents. This is going to be a bit of a longer video because there's a lot more to go over with the Balance Druid. So, let me double check here. Warrior Balloon, Force of Nature, Celestial Alignment, Incarnation. Yeah, all that stuff is all set. Yeah, putting baseline power into CA is kind of weird because it does make Incarnation, Chosen of Balloon, kind of weaker. But again, that's numbers. So, I bet the haste buff feels way better because of dot scaling now. Again, Stellar Flare, the dot build could be a thing, you never know. So, I have currently outlined here the CC build. War Mode, for a real quick layout. Only be activated. See, also, this is a thing. This bug where nature's balance gives you like full astral power. Obviously, that's supposed to be in, it shouldn't do that. But I don't know, it's just, whatever, beta. You get to pick one of your medallions in the War Mode. You activate War Mode in your capital city, Stormwind or Orgrimmar. You get 15% more XP from killing monsters and completing quests, and bonus loot when you do world quests. We don't know how that is because we can't do world quests yet. You also gain more honor from killing the opposite faction. If you go on a 10 kill streak without dying, you will become an assassin for the faction, and you will gain 15% damage and healing until, of course, you are ganked by 7 rogues. While you are doing either of that, though, it's increased honor baseline, and you get even more bonus honor if you are part of killing an enemy assassin. And all of these talents are active anywhere in the open world, PvP areas, arenas, all that stuff, PvP islands as well. I'm imagining nowhere in PvE stuff, no dungeons, no raids. Open world against mobs, totally fine if you're flagged, but obviously you're flagged and sharded into the War Mode, so be ready to fight at any given time. These talents, however, you pick any 3, and yes, it is less talents than you have on live in the 6 tiers, but you can pick any of them that compete. So in this build, I have Cyclone, Druid Banish. I also have Fairy Swarm, Druid Disarm, and Iron Feather Armor, which is increased armor in Moonkin form, and the minus 20% chance to be crit by melee attacks. Tanky and super CC build. You couldn't take Fairy Swarm and Cyclone on live right now because Fairy Swarm and Cyclone compete. Now, you can. You can take any of these. So you can grab Thorns, which is the reflect nature damage up to their total health, and the slow Protector of the Grove, which is your super regrowth on other people, and you get that extra cooldown, or the cast speed rather, sorry. On that, you can get the Prickling Thorns, which is the damage that the target takes whenever your roots is removed, dispelled, or end. Deep Roots is doubling the damage that roots have to take before they break. Dying Star is that your Sunfire and Moonfire will generate more astral power when they're dispelled, 3 each. Moonkin Aura is that whenever you Star Surge, you give that 15% crit to all your allies within 40 yards of you. Moon and Stars, Celestial Alignment summons a beam of light at your location, granting you a 70% reduction in silence and interruption effects for 10 seconds. Celestial Downpour is the duration of Starfall is doubled, but you only have 1 active at a time. So, hello, Twin Moons, AoE Cleave, and Stellar Drift. When you're running around, they go above your head. Crescent Burn is Super Moonfire. If you Moonfire a target that already is Moonfire, they will take 35% increased direct damage from the Moonfire. Again, pair it up with your Twin Moons. And Celestial Guardian is while you're in bear form, you'll take 10% less damage and from spells and receive 20% increased healing. So again, pick and choose whatever you'd like. This Super CC Fairy Swarm Cyclone is going to be real troll because, oh, I'm going to get on the Boomkin Cycloned. I'm getting on him now. Fairy Swarmed. Oh, I'm getting on him now. Druid Sneeze. Oh, I'm getting on him now. Rooted. And then by the time you get back on them, then you Cyclone. You wait for DR window, obviously, like any good, cycloning druid is going to wait for. I wait for the DR window. So it's real good. So looking forward to what you guys think of the war mode talents and what builds you can make for your Thunder Chicken. But outside of that, my final little bit of notes here is that the overall rotations are going to definitely feel very much that are you AoEing more or are you single targeting more? That is how BFA is going to work. If you are AoEing more, you spec for AoE. If you're not, see now my Astral power fixed itself here. I don't understand. If you're AoEing more, you pick your AoE talents. If you're not AoEing as much, you're going pure single target, you take your single target stuff. If you're going to cross dot and cleave a little bit, take your Twin Moons, but you take Star-Lord for the extra haste, or you take Stellar Flare for the extra cleave, whatever. If that's not how you want to play this game, I get it. But you're not going to be able to spec for all 5 types of DPS. In BFA, Blizzard wants you to specialize and be strong at maybe 2 types. But you can't be a Demonology Warlock from Warlords, because then you get ridiculed openly on the internet and made fun of by the league game designer. Don't be a Demonology Warlock from Warlords. So, Balance Druid, a lot of changes. That is that. All this testing does take a lot of time and effort to put together and organize and whatnot. So if you would like to help support what I do here beyond the subscription button here or tuning into my Twitch live streams, tossing me $1 or $2 over on my Patreon page does a whole, just, I can't even, it does so much, right? The reason why I can even sit here a lot of the times is because the support I get on Patreon. There are a whole bunch of reward tiers you can look at. There are the BTS podcasts. There are over 38 of them. These are from my live show where I sit down with the guests and talk about the show either before or after it. Just have a whole lot of just totally off-the-cuff banter. You can check out any of these if you'd like. There's a 2-hour talk between Preacher and I in the middle of Legion where we're just like ranting so heavily about how so many good things, so many bad things about it before BFA beta started. There are behind-the-scenes posts. I'll send you birthday cards roughly around the time of your birthday. Maybe. So if you'd like to support what I do here directly, then there is the way to do it. Link down below in the description box. Thank you all very much for listening and watching and following along. Let me know what you think of the Balance Druid and its changes. If I've missed anything, please feel free to call me a complete dingus down there in the comments below. And I will see you all in the next second pass BFA video.